I am now an adolescent, 8 years old.
I was growing up fast. The school, the streets, and the whole wide world awaited me beyond the gate of my parents' house.
Chapter 2, Adolescence. You've lived in this world for 8 years now. As you grow older, life grows more complex. The world of your childhood was limited to your house and family, but now that realm is expanding. It also includes your neighborhood, the nearby houses, the streets of the ancient city of Ainzot. A question now looms over you, growing more pressing with each passing year. What will your place be in this vast outside world? Few people in the Blessed Arcanine Empire trouble themselves with this question. It's not that a man or woman's power to choose. Their destiny is predetermined by birth and those who bore them. And yet, your peculiar birth has granted you a choice. Your father is a man of nobility, a worthy example in the matters of duty and honor. Your mother is a commoner of lowly estate, humility and patience made flesh. And your sky is ablaze, day and night, with the light of the shining pillar, the beacon of the clergy. Your back bears mark of the lash. Will you accept the drudgery and suffering that is the lot of the lowborn for your entire life? Or will you follow in the footsteps of your father and father's father and fight for your right to serve the Emperor as a noble of the mantle? Perhaps you will follow the twin gods' word and offer spiritual guidance to the others. The answer lies out there in that vast and terrifying world. What awaits you beyond the walls of your home? The world grows, blah, blah, blah. Okay. If I get ingenuity to 4, I can discover a secret. If I get nobility to 4, I can find out Stefan. Because I got my nobleman's sacrament, I can participate in a ritual. And if I get spirituality 4, I can get that, whatever that means. I can meet a girl if I would like. I can have an epiphany. I could also save Sophia. My nobility is unprincipled. Oh. Okay. I am slow and mundane. I'm exhausted and untouched by death. I now have the relations screen, province, and the map of the empire. So let's check those out. The relations screen has no relations yet. The map of the empire. Oh, hey. Wow, okay, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. Okay. That's a lot going on. And the province. Overseer is Archduke Milandus. That's this guy here. The Patriarch is Photis. He was first to define lots. Define twin gods within and say everyone's equal in the twins' eyes. Huh. Okay. The old faith. The wealthy is secured. Okay, and it's peaceful. Nope, let's continue with the game. The family expects more and more of you as you grow up. I want to see. I'm still sucks that I didn't get any stats. I thought I would. It said that you get stats after you're carried over. Whatever. Family expects more and more of you as you grow up. The teachers and tutors hired by your father keep you on toes all the time. Your life these days is dedicated to studying for your future, for the future of the Brandt family. Younger brother Nathan keeps growing up too. You can hold a conversation now. You never need to refuse him when he comes to play. Or you never refuse him when he comes to play, provided you have a bit of free time between demanding lessons. It's a rainy day today. Father and mother have gone to a ball and they left Nathan in your care. You lose track of time over the books in the sitting room, and Nathan goes off alone to splash in the creek. Soon you hear his voice begging you to come outside. He's on the porch, sobbing, all covered in dirt. You walk up to him as he continues to bawl. It's all that kid. He pushed me to the ditch and called me names. He said I was a fancy pants fool. I said I'll call my brother. He's still there, Regan. You have to go punish him. Nathan points at a lopsided wooden house further down the street where the poor artisans live. You see two boys lingering there on the porch. They're clearly both commoners, but far from poor. One of them is almost as tall as Nathan. He frowns in a funny way, just like him. The other looks older, almost your age, but he's more broad-shouldered and taller. His name is Thomas. You've heard it before. There, Ranghilder, it's him. Nathan points to the younger boy and hides behind your back. Thomas grins and rolls up his sleeve to reveal strong forearms. He must have been helping his father with manual labor for quite some time. Listen up, rich boys. We don't give a damn about you or your friendship. We don't let nobody call our home a stinking rat hole. Your little brother earned his ditch dive. Maybe next time he'll dress normal and stop picking fights with people who can throw him in the mud. Your hands clench your fists before you react. I need more willpower. Nathan called them names first. No wonder they did the same, but that's how it goes. Pushing your brother ditches too much. Thomas stands tall and confident. He sees no threat in you. You're about to get ready for a fight and you feel a tug on your sleeve. You turn your head to see Nathan, the one who started the whole mess. I can get some nobility and respect of Thomas. I can get ingenuity and respect of Thomas. Or I can get spirituality. I want spirituality. That's what I want. I'd like to get willpower, but I'm not really super great with Nathan. This quarrel can be resolved peacefully. You turn to Thomas and offer to solve the problem like adults. His brother will apologize to Nathan, and Nathan will apologize to him in return. There's no need to fight anymore. You'll give Nathan a piece of your mind when you get home. You and Thomas are all grown up and should act your age, you say. The blood rushes to Thomas' faces when you hears this. Act your age, you say. You calling me a baby? You better shut your trap. This is all he says before he attacks. You barely dodge a fist flying at your face. You start trading blows, huffing and puffing with rage. The younger brothers gawk and awe at the sight. Thomas does not resort to fancy moves, dirty tricks, or stupid taunts. He displays nothing but skill earned in many a street fight, and his heavy fists aim for your head. You keep dodging him again and again, trying to reach him. He takes a couple of glancing blows, but he easily shakes them off. What a bruiser. You start swinging your fist with greater and greater fury. Your heart is pounding like a hammer. You see nothing but the foe in front of you. How much longer will this take? You're worn out. Your breath grows ragged. Your muscles grow heavy. But there is no way you can give up now. Nathan is watching you. Despite a desperate note of options, you swing and punch Thomas square in the nose, and immediately let his fist smack you in the temple. The blow rings through your head like a bell and blinds you for a moment. The world swims before your eyes. You clutch at your head to get your bearings. Thomas is standing in front of you, blood dripping from his nose. You no longer want to fight it out, and it seems your opponent would rather end it too. But you keep standing there, eyeing each other angrily. Then suddenly, you hear an angry shout right next to you. An enraged man in the craftsman apron is shaking his fist. Thomas's face contorts in terror right away. It's my father, run! The punishment for fighting is flogging. The mere prospect of that makes you run like a wind. Thomas sprints in front of you. You dash across the rotted wooden planks of the back alley, up and over a lopsided fence, across a giant puddle in one leap, and forward into the tall grass. You hide there and stay quiet. You hear no sounds of pursuit. You start exchanging glances with Thomas and start laughing. His laughter is loud and infectious, but he soon cut it short and grows sadder. I'm gonna get flogged anyways. My dad's always quick to give me a beating. Then he'll start nagging me about lots of prayers for days like he always does. Why do I have to get myself mixed up in this stuff? But fighting is the only way to prove you're worth anything, right? The elf didn't see you fighting, you tell him. All you have to do is convince him you weren't. Nosebleeds happen, right? Mother gets nosebleeds all the time. Well, we could try it. Let's hope my little brother's not telling us. I'll talk to mine. It's a scratch in your head, don't want to see it. Good thing I didn't hit you in the face. There, good as new. You assure him that Nathan will never tell, and in return, you'll make sure he behaves himself and won't get tossed in the ditch again. With that, you shake hands with Thomas. His handshake is strong, as you would expect, based on his fists. You make your way out of the tall grass. You need to leave before Thomas's father goes to your family and complains about you breaking the lot. You come to a realization on the way back. You have no idea the place where you were hiding even existed. It wasn't too far from home. Thomas smiles excited when he hears this. Oh, I know lots of places like that. I'll tell you what, if we go to this mess today, I'll show you the way to the old fortress wall. It's the perfect place to build your own fort. I banked a bunch of wooden planks there. But it's no fun to build all alone. My brother never helps. He just gets in the way. You emerge from the muddy back alleys, united by a secret only the two of you know. It seems you've made a friend today. Yay, spirituality. Yay, I've got a friend. Everyone needs friends in their lives. 11:27. It's a blistering hot today, even for the sun-parched land of Magra. As soon as you are done with your studies, you dash outdoors and enter the stuffy room. You and Thomas roll up your shirt sleeves, but it barely helps. You would gladly go shirtless if you'd been only in the company of other boys, but there are 3 girls in the yard today. They're doing the laundry in a big wash tub, whispering and giggling. If you could, you would gladly keep watching one of them at work. She has big eyes of deep blue, her dark hair is braided, and her plain gray dress is mended and patched all over. Her name is Sophia. She throws her head back when she laughs, the rays of sun are reflected in her eyes. You, Thomas, and the other boys are telling silly stories, anything to make her laugh. You sure love telling tall tales, Rangilder. Oh, I remember this one time. But then, Sophia hears a voice calling her home. She nods to you and runs across the street, smiling. Her light steps carry her forward, but her eyes are looking elsewhere. Then, a stone in the road catches her foot. She tumbles and falls flat in the dust. The street starts shaking from thundering hooves. Riders appear on the roads from around the corner. Oh fuck, I'm out of willpower. They bear a coat of arms you recognize right away. A sable serpent bladed upon a field of vest. It symbolizes the Midlandia Fantasy, the family of your Providence's Archduke. The horses dash forward. A lost wooden toy in the road cracks into the hooves. They will not slow down. They are nobles, and the rest must make way for them. Sophia is in the way. I cannot. I don't have the willpower. Ah! You freeze in terror. The riders surely see the girl. Are they going to stop? Or are they going to trample her? Shit. Well, I guess she's going to get trampled. Ouch, that hurts. You stand frozen by the roadside, unable to look away as the cloud of dust covers the entire tree. As if you feel of a massive, maddened beast whipped into a merciless frenzy as passed you by. You hear no screams, no cracking bones, nothing but the deafening din of hooves. Once the horses are gone, the dust has settled, you can finally see the road again, and the repulsive blob of blood, flesh, and bone left on top of it. You can still see traces of Sophia in that mess, her dark hair, the remains of her dress, but it's no longer her. Sophia's earthly remains slowly dissipate and melt into the air. Her mother's eyes are filled with grief as she watches. She hunches over and slowly walks back into the house. You can still hear the riders far away down the road. None of them even bothered to look back. Your friends walk away at a loss for words. You make your way home, dazed by what you've seen. You are still dazed as you retell these events to Mother, unable to look up from the floor. After a moment of silence, she embraces you and calms you down. Poor girl. What a terrible, painful death. But you must know that it was not her true death. By the twins' mercy, we are all given enough time in this world. Should you die before your time, you'll be brought back by their grace. For 3 times they will rescue you from a terrible fate, but the 4th death is true and final for all. Every loss of a life we were granted at our birth is a heavy blow to us, but the gods told us not to mourn a lesser death. Everybody will keep on living as though nothing had happened, even Sophia's parents. Their family is poor and they have no family crypt like we do. When the girl's soul comes back to life, her body will be reborn in the city church with all her wounds healed. Do not mourn her, my son, but thank the twin gods for their justice. You see Sophia by her house a few days later, and she looks completely fine, without so much of a scratch. The other children tell you that her parents now forbid her to leave the yard after dying such an early first death. You call out Sophia's name. She looks at you briefly, then walks back inside. Sophia never talks to you again. Ouch. Alright, so that was... To get both the denying of the sacrament as well as saving Sophia, you need a decent chunk of willpower. Because you lose 10 willpower from doing that. So there's a couple of places that could have saved it if I want to go back, but... Oh well. Oh, I should read that. Sophia disappeared with the first terrible incident with the horses. Her friends gossiped that her parents sent her off to serve a rich noble dynasty. You haven't seen each other since that day, but you still remember Sophia's eyes, the sunlight shining in them. But no matter what, life goes on. You are 10 years old now. Your studies continue, you're learning more about the land you live in. Ainzot is an ancient city, in an imperial province by the name of Magra. All soil in Magra was turned to ash aeons ago, scorched by magic during the rebellion of Duke Char Milandas. Oh no, the Red Comet! The magical arts are all but gone now, but the scorched earth has remained barren and infertile ever since. Since then, the entire province has lain barren, tormented by cold and scorching winds in equal measure, with few precious plants taking root in their own. All fertile land in Megara is bought elsewhere and brought here by an endless caravan of carts and carriages. They pay for food and soil. The cities of Megara, or to pay for food and soil, the cities of Megara became skilled in many trades, primarily mining and digging for metals and stones. Last fall, there was an explosion just outside the city, followed by clouds of thick smoke. The first incident frightened the citizens. But then, explosions of smoke became an everyday occurrence. Soon everyone became used to it. Fathers say the miners are using a new invention called gunpowder. It makes it easier to reach the precious stones and metals buried deep within the earth. Then, one day, a thunderous explosion rocks the city, and black, billowing smoke covers the houses. People are stuck in their homes, all windows tightly shut. The air is impossible to breathe. Nathan coughs all the time. Glory and you cough only when nobody is watching. If Mother hears it, she makes you inhale those hot, fertile vapors, just like Nathan. It takes 2 days for the black smoke to disperse. People pour out of the streets to meet their friends. Thomas is eager to share everything he knows about this incident with you. They took lots of burnt up people to the city temple. Mom told me she was helping the healers. There are many rumors. Some claim it was the work of a beast stirred from its slumber. Others say it's the surviving witches to continue to threaten the order of the Empire with their accursed powers. But as for you, you patiently wait for Father to come back home. Then you'll ask him about it. Father spends day and night working at the prefecture, where Mother spends her time in prayer. It takes a full week for Father to finally come home, and he's almost completely spent. You muster enough courage during dinner to ask him what happened outside the city. Father raises his head, face bleak, wearing mask, and starts muttering his proclamation. It's almost like he doesn't see you. It's the mine outside the city. They were trying to get a vein of ore. There was an explosion. The mine caved in. The black smoke started flowing. Many workers died there. It's all because Count El Velasco, who owns the mines, wanted to start mining that vein before they were ready. Some of the workers weren't even reborn. Perhaps the twins thought their final time had come. The prefecture is inundated with complaints from families that have lost their breadwinners, asking the judges for help. Many people also lost their cattle to black smoke. Count El Vasco aims gunpowder for the disaster. The prefecture and the newspapers repeat whatever he says, but it's plain old green to tyranny the noblemen that are to blame. Why the welfare of a province is always paid for with commoner lives. Then, without a warning, he grows silent again. You keep thinking about it for days. Can human life really end so easily? A single moment of bad luck, then you die, only to re-emerge in the temple or family crypt with a new black mark on your arm. Or worse, you're made where you fell, dead, never to be reborn again. Ever. Wealthy, lose order. Rough. During lunch, Father tells you to stay home in the evening and prepare to meet some important guests. Your older brother Stefan will returning home for dinner tonight. Joining him will be your grandfather Gregor Bronte, as well as a noble friend of the family. You're excited about your brother's return. It's been years since you last saw him. How has he changed during his years away from home? You and Father await the guests anxiously. The doorbell rings. 3 people are standing outside. Your grandfather is the first to come in, naturally. He's not changed a bit since his last visit, still eyeing the house with contempt, looking for any reason to demean it. Grandfather is followed by a stately young man dressed in a jacket embroidered with silver, whom you barely recognize as your brother. Stefan grants a glance at your threadbare clothes, your dirty fingernails, and smirks. The last to enter the house is a personable gentleman with a worn-out, wrinkled face. You've heard a lot about this man from Father and Grandfather. He is Baron Augustin Elborn, Stefan's uncle, a family friend and the province's prefect, which means that he's the head judge and thus Father's superior. So Elborn smiles lightly and offers you his hand. And this must be your younger son, Angela, yes? You have your father's eyes, young man. Father bows slightly to Grandfather and Sir Elborn, but there is a moment of quiet when Stefan's turn comes. Father reaches out to him awkwardly, expecting an embrace. There's a question in Stefan's eyes. He looks at grandfather. The old man shakes his head almost imperceptibly. We noblemen not put our emotions on public display, father, not even after a lengthy separation. There's no embrace. Instead, Stefan nods to Father Kirkley. He responds in kind, his face devoid of emotion. After the greeting, you proceed to sitting room. Elborn is the first to enter. He kisses mother's hand, and Gloria's too, and tussles Nathan's hair after he sees him hiding by the table. Grandfather acknowledges them with a glum nod. Greetings, Lydia Brandt. I remember you were kind to me when I was but a child, and you must be Nathan. You could barely walk when I saw you last. Your elder brother ignores Gloria completely, not even a greeting. You proceed to the dining room in a dignified manner and take your seats. The dishes smell delicious, but they merely punctuate the overwhelming tension at the table. Elborn is the only one with a friendly smile on his face. The dinner is splendid, Lydia. Did you choose the dishes yourself? You have a truly refined palate. It warmed my heart to know Stefan spent his early years with you. Womanly care always does a child good, no matter the estate. Your fork freezes in the air, halfway to your mouth. You expect many things, noble of the sword, but words of praise for a low-born woman are not one of them. You cast a glance at grandfather. He looks like he's about to choke on those words. Well, thank you for the resubscription for the 2 months, Kit. Thank you. It would do my grandson more good to stay at a boarding school amongst his equals. Please, Gregor, parenting is no less important. Nothing can replace a mother's love, I cannot deny it. It saddens me greatly that my late sister could not be there to raise Stefan, but there was still a family for him, and he was surrounded by love. How could that be bad? And besides, his father was by his side all the while. A father's example is always the best. After all, Robert earned his judge's rank the same way you did. Your grandson will surely follow in your footsteps, and who knows, perhaps even the younger men of the Brandt family will contribute to the... You clumsy, low-born cretin! Everyone is startled by this sudden outburst. Grandfather's face turns red. He's glaring at a young lady servant holding a picture over a glass. Stefan is sitting right about next to her, dabbing a napkin on a fresh stain on his jacket. Begone this instant! The lady servant runs away, leaving the pitcher on the small table by the door. After a quiet moment, Elborn smiles again. It appears the servants have left us, yet dinner is far from over. Worry not, uncle. There are enough commoners at this table to keep us served with food and drink. Stefan glares at Gloria across the table. She's sitting right next to you. She shrinks down and hunches over under its gaze. Father furrows his brow. Mother covers her mouth with trembling hands. Grandfather sneers. Stefan's gaze does not move. The silence lasts for far too long. Then, she starts to rise from her chair. If the Brandt gentlemen so wish it. Your hands clenching a fist on the table. How can he bring himself to humiliate his own family, his own mother and sister like this? It's all grandfather's doing. Stefan could not even bring himself to embrace father without his permission. And yet they are noblemen. They have the right to act this way. If there's any way this dinner can become even more unbearable, you do not want to see it. I can insult him to gain some ingenuity, but gain bad blood. I can make small talk over dinner to gain nobility. Or I can gain some willpower. I need my willpower back, please. Listen, I really want ingenuity. I need willpower. I don't want to leave him willpower so well. You deliberate for a moment, then take the napkin off your lap and rise to join Gloria. A moment later, you hear the sound of another chair moving. Your mother joins you. The three of you now refill glasses, serve food, and clear away dirty dishes. Sir Elborn tries to make small talk with your father, but in vain, so he focuses attention on grandfather and Stefan. Grandfather is pleased to inform him of Stefan's achievement at the boarding school, especially his exemplary sword-fighting skills. He consistently stresses the importance of your elder brother for the future of the family. You listen to him dispassionately as you continue serving new dishes to the table. As you wait at the nobleman's table, you, your sister, and mother never bump into each other. Your labor is impeccable. Grandfather could not have found fault with it even if he tried. Your shoulders and back are aching, but being a manservant inside your own house hurts even more. When the guests finally leave, Mother and Gloria embrace you with relief. You do not neglect your relatives and share the humiliation. And the composure you have shown gave you new strength. Yay! Positive willpower at last. I lost a bunch of willpower, and then Sophia had to die because I lost that, which was a great chance to gain a bunch of stats. A dropped handkerchief. Hot, dry wind seeps through the city from the barren lands around it. The noble residents of Anzot prefer to remain in their chambers, while the commoners huddle in tents or in the shade of the silver tree. You're on an errand right now. Your father wrote a letter to a noble acquaintance, and you are to deliver. Thomas, the boy on the street, is tagging along. The two of you are inseparable now. The errand is an easy one, so you decide to take this opportunity to loiter around, part of Anzot where the nobles live. So here you are in the middle of the city square, resting on the ancient brickwork by the old fountain in the merciful shade of the gargantuan silver tree. Thomas is by your side, lazily slouching on the edge of the fountain's basin. It's a hard life for commoners like you and me. Either you break your back in a workshop day and night hoping to someone to buy your goods someday, or you become a manservant to some noble. You never get a chance to enjoy life. This is our lot, you remind him. We work and endure and suffer. But Thomas waves your hand away. Yeah, I know that already. Mother keeps drilling that stuff into me. We must be humble. Our strength is patience and persistence. So yeah, I say. But I want to make my fortune no matter what. So, how ain't that living by my lot, I ask you? But the lots, they ain't easy. It's like you, for example. Right? Your father's a nobleman, but even if that didn't make you one, just look at your hands. You've never had to work as hard as me. We have the same lot, so we're supposed to suffer the same. Or, look at your father. He's a judge. He toils the prefecture day and night doing his judging, and he's a noble? I've never seen an Arcanan work as hard as he does. You shrug. Arcanians are a different race. The books say they were born to rule over humans. They are never commoners, always nobles of sword by birth. They founded the Emperor after subduing all human kingdoms on the continent. Humans will never be their equals. Arcanians are always better, smarter, stronger, and their skin is a noble shade of blue. If the books are to be believed, of course. You've never seen one yourself. Your idle chatter is suddenly interrupted by a rugged-looking guardsman dressed in black and green. He chases you away from the fountain. Common rabble like you have no place here. You hear a clattering of hooves and wheels against the cobblestones and see flags bearing a coat of arms, a sable serpent on a field of vert. It makes you squirm. It is the Archduke's coat of arms, the Melanidas dynasty. The carriage door opens, revealing a young lady in a luxurious dress. You cannot look away from her. Those dainty shoulders suggested but not revealed by the cut of her dress, her black hair cascading over them, her stately, slim silhouette, her pouty lips and prim nose, and those eyes, dark like the night sky. And the way she moves, fluidly, gracefully, and most incredible of all, her skin glows an azure blue. She is a masterpiece given light. She is an Arcanian. Clear the way for me. The Melanidas. Gotta say that right. Melanidas guardsmen work quickly to clear the way from the fountain to the Arcanian lady. The searing sun dances on her skin in bizarre patterns. With one elegant motion, she reveals a handkerchief, then leans over the basin and wipes her head and neck with its cool water. Well, I'll be. That's Octavia Melanidas, our Archduke's own daughter. The Arcanian turns away and proceeds gracefully back to her carriage. You see something slip from her hand and fall to the cobblestones right next to you. Her handkerchief. It's right there by your feet. Intricate craftsman. Expensive woven fabric delicately decorated with an emerald filigree. Your heart skips a beat. Will you dare draw the beautiful Arcanian's attention in order to return her lost possession? Or would you rather not attempt to cross the chasm between you and her? I can give it back. Takes my 5 willpower. I can keep it forever. Alright, keep it to sell it. Or I can gain a bunch of willpower. That's tough. Have me more friends, give me a little bit of willpower. Or I'll get a destiny token. and I get a relation. Yeah, sure. I'll spend my 5 willpower. Takes a moment for it to overcome your fear. You follow the young lady Melanidas and call out to her in a nervous voice. She turns around, her beautiful face marred by a puzzled expression. You extend the dropped handkerchief towards her. Lady's Octavia face contorts into a sneer. She signs to the guardman indifferently. A guardsman gauntlet clad slaps you in the face. It rings near your head like a heavy bell. Your nose cracks obediently under the staggering force. The rest of you follow suit, and you fall prone. You can discern the guardsman's voice through the painful din in your ears. Should I take the handkerchief back, lady? After a commoner's hands have befouled it, let him wipe himself with it for all I care. The carriage drives away. Thomas runs up to you and drags you back to the fountain. Your head is still ringing from the blow, the fateful handkerchief still crumpled in your hand. But she knows who I am. And I lost some willpower. But I met a girl. Sounds good. It's rough not getting any stat growth, though. This is unpleasant. 12 years old now, and you overhear an important conversation. It is a spring night, and Mother has just sent everyone to bed. You walk past Father's study and hear voices coming from beyond the door. Grandfather is yelling, and Father is replying quietly. The elder Brandt men are fighting and arguing about the place of the commoners in the city. You sneak outside to avoid Mother's attention and hide next to the open window of the study. Perhaps they'll mention you, too. That low-life idiot had the gall to pay me a visit and beg me for some advice. He had the insolence to ask me outright. He thought I was going to support his claim for the chairman's seat in the lesser quorum. How dare he? Father, please listen. Mayor Egmont may be lowborn, but he carries a lot of clout in Megra. He owns 5 iron mines. A friend like him could be useful. Should he become the chairman of the lesser quorum? I don't give a damn who this Egmont is, Robert. What he is, however, is a lowborn. His lot is humility and obedience. The likes of him can never rule anything. They're nothing but a flock of sheep that need a firm, noble hand to guide them. Okay, well, thank you so much for the raid, Doshinora. How's your evening going, and what were you streaming before this? I wasted so many years trying to quash that quorum decree, but that accursed Cornelius Tempest did everything in his power to make the Emperor sign that pathetic screed. Now even lowlifes can wield power. True power, Robert. Just the right to discuss the size of Archduke's tack, nothing more. Oh, an art stream. Nice. Hope you had a good time with it, at least. Now, that is only the beginning. What's next? They're gonna arm the lowlifes now? Make them into judges? If the Emperor rejects the foundations and the lots, the entire edifice will crumble. Bah! Who am I telling this to? It's already crumbling. And you, my son, are heir, our harbinger of its destruction. This story's a bit over the top sometimes. Alright, well, thank you, Mars. I hope it's a good thing. Not a bad thing you're saying about me. Father, I'm begging you. I do not wish to marry a 3rd time. Lydia is a good wife and a dutiful mother to my children. If only you would allow her to... I will allow them nothing. Neither Egmont, nor that freeloading wench of yours. What will you want me to do next? Live by the laws of the lowborn? I can already see where this is going. I'd rather run my own sword through my gut than live in a country where nobles and lowlifes share the same rights. Well, thank you for appreciating it or mocking me. I'm not too sure. My only dream is to see the name of Bront in the Blue Book, but that dream will never come true. They will never call me Venerable Elbront, and that's all because of this marriage of yours. My only hope now is to hear Stefan addressed in such a manner one day. Thank the twins I didn't let you ruin the boy. He's about to grow up a true nobleman. His children will bear the name of Elbront. Thank you, Mars. You have 2 more grandsons. Those spineless milksops from the common lot, they're incapable of anything. The best your middle son could do was sneak into the Imperial College and get ennobled by the mantle, although I have grave doubts about even that. As far for the downtrodden Nathan, I hold no hope for him whatsoever. You hear grandfather's heavy footsteps, the thudding of his cane and the slamming of the door. It's time to sneak back home before you're discovered. Hey, an overseer has gained some power? Okay. School has begun, the year 1130. You started studying at the school of Sir Tibor and begin to master the sciences. Finally, the day comes when the teachers stop coming to the house. But before you can breathe a sigh of relief and put away the books, Father asks you to come to his study. You've grown, my son. It's time for you to continue your education away from home. I've chosen a deserving school for you, Sir Tibor's School for the children of noblemen and well-off commoners. Naturally, it is not a boarding school for nobles, so you will study there during the day and come home in the evening. You share the news with your best friend, Thomas. Sir Tibor's School, eh? Yeah, I gotta ask my parents to send me there as soon as they get the coin together. Father says his workshop has toiled day and night for years to save up for my education. The school is based in an ancient estate of Arcanian design. The classrooms are tall and spacious, with massive benches. The sounds of scraping quills and lectures on history and imperial law and theology echo under the vaulted ceilings. Restless Thomas keeps getting distracted, and several times he gets his head slapped with a stick for it. Every teacher demands flawless mastery of their subject. Every day, Father asks you about your studies. You've already told him twice how Magra joined the Empire, how the Nobles' Court of Honor is different from the Commoners' Civil Court in the City Prefecture. But Father keeps pressuring you to work even harder. When it's time to go to bed, Mother will not let you go to sleep until you recite a newly learned prayer for her. And when it is time to go to school, you promise her every day that you will behave with great humility and steer clear of insolent behavior of any kind. For you still live by the commoner's lot, and that lot is hard work and suffering. Your first month in school draws to a close, and the teacher announced there will be exams at the end of the month to determine the best and the worst students in each subject. Father insists you devote all your spare time to studying law and history if you wish to follow in his footsteps. But when you speak to Mother every day, you start considering theology. You remember the revelation and divine visions you came to you in your earliest years. You have only one more day until the exam. You have already locked yourself away in your room, and it's getting late. Your desk is covered with handwritten notes surrounded by leather-bound books. Just looking at them makes you queasy, but you have to read through all of them again, at least for one of your subjects. There's a nagging thought in your mind. Thomas ended up in big trouble the other day. He got in a fight with several boys who live next street. They heard about your wooden fortress and got in an outrage by the fortification built by commoners. They swore to dismantle it tonight. Thomas swore he would defend the fortress until the end. Perhaps you should abandon the books to rescue a friend in need. But then you hear your little brother Nathan knocking on the door. He stands there, shyly, not saying a word. He often does that, standing still and staying speechless until you either speak first or he runs away. But this time, he actually says something. The door is locked. Are you okay, Munghilda? Is there anything I can do to help? Your head is spinning. This is the last evening before the school exam. If you fail, your family will be very disappointed. You have to refresh your memory on law or theology, either one or the other. But Thomas and your fort are about to be stormed. Why today of all days? You grind your teeth in rage at the thought. Nathan is by the door, trying not to bother you. He wants to help you the only way he can, for reasons known only to him. Will you accept his help? Ooh. Oh, man. Okay. I really want to study theology. I'm trying to go for a spirituality build here. But, okay, let's check my destiny real quick. What do I got? I know I'm probably not going to get that. I'm probably not going to get that. I can probably get that because I've got the Nobleman's Sacrament. This one I need spirituality for. Oh, wow. This one needs... Yeah. This is one I missed. This one I failed this. I didn't have enough willpower at the time. So I'm going to get back some willpower, get some points with Nathan. I can do theology, maybe. Oh, I'm torn. It's got to be theology. I'm sorry, Nathan. I appreciate you. Push Nathan out of the room. He cannot possibly help you prepare for the exam. Then what of the way you delve into your books on theology. Your mind is awash with the names of saints and zealots and concepts of the divine. Your studies tire you out so much that you fall asleep among the books until Mother wakes you up gently and sends you off to bed. Come morning, you barely have the time to wake before you're walking to the menacing edifice of the school. The entire day is a constant stream of school subjects demanding knowledge, questions demanding answers. You demonstrate satisfactory knowledge of law and history, though you are sometimes confused by the technicalities and chronological order. It feels like the day will never end, but the end does come at last. The theology exam, as luck would have it, is the final test of the day. The teacher, a priest, starts asking you questions. Surprising even yourself, you provide coherent answers for all of them. You quote eminent theologians on why and how the lot of the clergy is to provide spiritual guidance in other estates. When the questions require examples, you quote prayers and lives of saints you've read with Mother. You earn the highest grade in this exam. Back home, you are overjoyed to tell Mother how you aced the theology exam. She pats you in the head gently and says you should tell Father how you did in history and law. Your education continues. As you study imperial law, you come to realize there's a certain hierarchy, even with the noble estate. It seems your father's status is not quite equal to that of the more eminent human and Arknian gentry. When you return home with this news and information at your disposal, Father asks you about school after dinner, as he always does. And what's the difference between nobles of the mantle and those of the sword, Runghilder? You already have an answer ready. The later status is hereditary, meaning that it's passed down from father to son. After the Arknians, nobles of the sword are the most eminent humans in the empire. They own land and estates, they fill offices of the highest ranks, and the names of their bloodlines are preserved within the Great Blue Book. Nobility of the sword can only be granted by the overseer of the province, or the emperor himself. And how are such eminent people addressed? With the honorific L before their last name, you respond. Sir Augustin L. Bourne, for example. Father pats you on the shoulder, clearly pleased. And what about the Arknians and their status? What have you learned about them? The Arknians stand above all human gentry. They are born to rule over humans, regardless of their titles. No L is required when addressing them. They need no honorifics, for the names of their ancient dynasties are known to all. Father nods somberly. Yes, we can never be their equals. Do whatever an Arknian tells you and never defy them. Ever. And what about grandfather and me? Where do we stand as nobles? It should be grandfather and I. Ah! That's easy. Father and grandfather are nobles of the mantle. This title cannot be inherited, but it can be earned by any commoner as a reward for great service to the emperor, in the legion, or as a civil servant. Father suddenly grows quiet and looks you in the eye intently. Oh, yes, and someday you will earn a noble title too, son. All in due time. Sir Tiber's school teaches children of all stripes. Nobles of the mantle and noble-born parents can send their sons here. And every passing day, the children of noblemen invent new ways to snub and bully the commoners. Most of the time, the bully leading them is Daedric, the son of the secretary for the Imperial Chancellery and a self-important slob. The sons of noblemen never pick on you, however. They know that your father has been ennobled by the mantle. However, Daedric and his retinue soon choose Thomas as their favorite victim. Time and time again, you ask your friend not to pay them any mind, but again and again, Thomas grows angry and snaps at their self-satisfied mockery. It is early morning. The students are busy, flocking to the classroom for the next lesson. You wave Thomas over when you see him. He waves back at you, and then a bucket full of slop splashes on him. Needless to say, it's the work of Daedric and his entourage. You hear his familiar creaky laughter. The tailor's son stinks. How dare he stand next to decent folk? Thomas clenches his fists. You're dead, Diedrich. He throws himself as Diedrich's haughty entourage like a soldier ready to wage war. He attacks them first. This is what they expected, and they are free to retaliate. He barely makes one movement before 4 pairs of hands grab him at once. Diedrich sneers and kicks your friend in the belly. Thomas grasps for air, coughing. You stand between them as Diedrich readies another kick. The nobleman's son cocks an eyebrow. Why do you mingle with commoners? Your father was noble of the mantle. You ought to be friends with your own kind. Your equals, not the dirt beneath our feet. Behind him, 4 boys hold Thomas down as he struggles furiously. Oh, I can shove him with rep. Cool. The other students watching you, frozen in fear. Diedrich haughtily extends a hand to you. He clearly expects you to shake it. I can gain nobility by challenging him. I can turn him over to the teachers. I can admonish him. Or I can shake his hand and gain some family reputation. No. We're a peaceful man. We don't fight if possible. You make a speech, not to the lead bully himself, but how is retinue? How come Diedrich sees himself fit to instigate fights? His family may be higher in rank, but like everyone else here, he's yet to take the nobleman's sacrament himself. The nobleman's lot is not yet his, so he's not yet fit to fight or rule. Nor are any of you. The twin gods are ever watching over us, you add, and they are ever vigilant. Do you dare defy their will? Diedrich tries to retort. They've broken no laws, he says. All they've done is teach commoners the meaning of suffering. You call upon your knowledge gained from your theology lessons and easily pick his argument apart. Every man's duty first is to follow his lot, and Diedrich and his friends lack the humility to accept they are not yet true nobles. The hands holding Thomas down grow weak. There's a whisper among the students around you. You're right. The twins are always watching how we follow the lots. Diedrich's retinue quickly dissolves in embarrassment. He furiously orders them to come back and join his cause, but his exhortations are all in vain. The other boys are clearly impressed by your words. The noble children will think twice before acting out again. Yeah, baby, got some stats and friendship. This is what we're all working towards. The Silver Tree. Your theology teachers tell you more about Ain Zot. It's more than just the provincial capital, it's also a sacred place blessed by the gods. This is where the twins' gods' first disciples spilled their blood, and from that blood grew the sacred Silver Tree. Its enormous foliage hangs over the city. You see its branches in the sky every day, but you've never approached the trunk of the tree yourself. Today, you'll be taking your first trip to the Silver Tree. Your class is visiting a service to the great temple by the tree's very roots. Thanks to your theology teacher, you and your students will witness the landmark of the twins' advent up close. Everybody is excited. Soon, you and the other boys enter the slums surrounding the church district of Ain Zot. The roots are pulsating under your feet, and they spread on the ground all throughout the area. Pathetic, cramped hovels and filthy streets surround the trunk of the tree. They are home to paupers, day laborers, and preachers. The people of this district bow humbly to you and point towards the temple. They seem at peace, despite the abject poverty in which they live. All who live directly beneath the tree are filled with divine grace, your teacher says. People come here to make peace with the world and their fate in it. Your class is unusually silent. Everyone is listening to the rustling of the leaves and the underground beating of the roots. The sky above you is obscured by the tree's canopy. You find the temple of the twin gods right next to the tremendous trunk of the tree. It almost seems part of it. There is a crowd there, pilgrims dressed in traveling clothes, paupers and beggars, common people of the city, and the occasional well-dressed noble. There are arguments among some people who are gathered in separate small groups. Many people are wandering around, staring upward at the tree's branches. The tree impresses you with its might and the calm emanating from it. Sorry, bonked my mic stand. You are filled with the desire to sit down and think of the world, to learn something about yourself, to touch the silver bark and hearken to the whispering leaves. You are distracted enough to fall back from the rest of your classmates. You notice a small path that should take you right next to the trunk. A tall, red-haired woman walks out from the crowds of pilgrims. She's wearing a worn white robe and Her faith, she is no longer young, but her faith is useful and covered in freckles. Her hands clutch a book. You have never seen this lady pilgrim before, yet she looks at you almost as if she has recognized a lifelong friend. She beckons to you and says her name, Mathilde, a preacher from Astynia. What she says next shakes you to the very core. It is commendable to see a young man so keen to learn the teachings of the twins, she says. Yet you will never follow the light of the truth in the walls of the temple. Inside you will find only the lies of what the lots, the erring words of prophet Isatius, sanctioned by the passage of centuries. Yet any who sent out to read the accounts of the twins' own lives knows they are never so much as mentioned by the lots. Or they never so much as mentioned the lots. The red-haired preacher's words frightened you. They clash with everything you've heard from Mother, everything you've been taught at school. The lots are a lie? You freeze in fear. Should you argue with it, Mathilde, or ask her for more information? Or should you treat her as a madwoman and catch up with your classmates? You suddenly feel a small, warm hand grasp your own. You see a girl right next to you. She's a little older than you, wearing a black dress, threadbare yet almost spotless. Her hair is covered by a handkerchief, with only a single gold lock showing. Her brown eyes are burning with rage, her hand pulling you away from the red-haired preacher. You stare in confusion at the young, strange girl, your cheeks flushed by the sudden touch, but there's a bit of color on her cheeks too. But then she starts speaking to you quickly. Don't listen to her. She's dangerous. Come to the temple with me. Only there will you see the truth. You stand there, surrounded by a crowd of praying pilgrims and the sounds of shuffling feet torn between two people you have never seen before, and each of them expects you to follow her. But, all the while, you hear the whispering of the wind in the tree's branches. The branches reach out for you, almost as if the tree wishes to speak to you itself. Can you hear its voice? So, I can spend willpower and go into the temple. I can just gain a free point of spirituality. I can just go up to the tree. Or I can open myself up to its tree and gain the revelation of the tree, as well as Jian, or Jane. You step away from the girl in black and the woman in white, your eyes transfixed by the tremendous, towering trunk of the tree. For some odd reason, you recall Mother's ant farm, with the ants hard at work inside, and her face as she explained its laws. It's a fleeting, distant memory, a child's realization about the workings of the world at large. At this very moment, you see yourself, and all other people for the ants they are. You cannot look away from the tree. The people around you begin to fade away, their voices melt together or disappear. The world that surrounds you feels frozen and still now. The slow swaying of the rustling branches is all there is. The branches catch you and raise you up. You soar in the air, higher and higher along the trunk of the silver tree. The branches, the leaves, their light is blinding. The light holds you up and embraces you. At this moment, you realize something. Something as clear as the daylight beating down on you from high above. This tree is divine. There is no doubt left in you. The tree was planted by the twin gods and left in this land. An ever-living proof and a mark of the twins' existence. And the tree, it speaks to you. It speaks in a language you understand, in the language you learned long before you were born. It speaks of soothing love and of crystal clear law, and of love and law intertwining to bring the miracle of life to you. From this high up, you can clearly see the land below. From here, you see all the entire empire, embroidered with a shining thread of providence, illuminated by the twins' presence. It takes you but a moment to finally realize what the teachers have been talking about all this time. The fates and lots of the people, the workings of life and the empire. It was all created and arranged by the twins, and absolutely everything bears their mark, their design and inspiration. And it is in this world that you were given life. Somehow the tree seems to realize the revelation is now fully within you. It gently lowers you back down to the ground. You glide down between the glowing branches, illuminated by what you have just seen. You spoke to them? You come back to your senses. You are still standing by the tree, firmly rooted to the ground. The branches release you, and you are once again aware of the pilgrim's prayers and the noise of the crowd. The young girl in black is staring at you. She is clearly agitated. My uncle is a priest, and told me the twins can choose to speak with you through the tree, but I've never seen it happen before. Jan starts asking you questions. She wants you to tell you his experience, but you cannot speak. It's so difficult to see the temple's familiar interior again, to see the district around it and the sky above. The memory of the sight from the top of the tree now gleams in your mind. I just hope you'll share your revelation with me someday. Don't worry, I'll get it. My name's Jan. I'm an acolyte. I work in the temple. I help my uncle clean the grounds, cook food for the poor, and I also greet the worshippers. People come here all the time. Many are lost, but they don't know where to go once they're inside. But nobody should feel lost in this place. The temple is for all the estates. But then you hear your theology teacher calling out. It's time for your class to return to school. Before you leave, Jan suddenly takes your hand. You can't help but blush. Please listen to me. Few people ever see these things. The twins, they were speaking to you, and you heard them. It's a sign. You should become a priest. You'll be guiding those who cannot hear the twins, and you'll be helping their souls find the way to the top of the pillar. It's the most honorable calling in the world. You say goodbye to the young acolyte, yet as you return to your ordinary life, Jan's words remain in your memory from that day forth. You say goodbye to the young acolyte, and as you return to... Oh, no, never mind, I read that bit again. An event has happened. An epiphany. Yay. The revelation of the tree. The next page. Hey, an adult question. Because I've got Spirituality 4A, unlock this. This is why I was so rushing to try to get this as soon as possible. The day is sunny, scorching, and hot. You're sitting in the yard in the shade of a tree, studying books about the twins' great descent. You hear shy, quiet steps. There's no need to look back. You know from the sound it's Nathan. Your younger brother also sits in the shade of the tree, and he is quiet. He's not tugging at your clothes this time. That's unusual. He's just sitting by your side, breathing loudly. You tear yourself away from your book and look at your brother. Nathan is deep in thought. He seems uneasy. He's fidgeting, the symbol of the twins, a cross inside a circle, the lash bound around the sword. It is Nathan's pendant. He wears it all the time, but not today. The silence wears on. Nathan takes a deep breath, like he's about to speak, but he is not. His face grows even grimmer. He looks unusually hurt and bitter. At last, Nathan gathers his courage. He takes another deep breath. His eyes narrow. His hand clutches the encircled cross. Tell me, Elder, the twins, they hate me, don't they? Nathan's voice is quiet, yet firm. The world falls silent around you. Not even a gust of wind can be heard. It's as if everything is waiting for your answer. You look at your brother again, confused. Nathan, the youngest brother, the most unassuming child. He's quiet, obedient, and thoughtful. He has been your responsibility almost since his birth, yet he has never been a burden. Father was always aloof around him, and Mother was too tired even to smile. Even Grandfather seemed to avoid Nathan with his scorn. He just treated your little brother like a piece of trash. He never called him by name and always winced at the sight of him. Perhaps because he looked so much like Mother. But is it true the twin gods had no love for your little brother? Surely the twins have enough, even for little Nathan, do they not? Nathan was born a commoner. Like you, his lot is suffering. Everyone is tested by the twins before their true death. No one can expect mercy along their path. He was born the youngest child in your family. That is his trial. Should Nathan persevere and bear the burden he was dealt, he shall yet reach the peak of the pillar when his time runs out. There is hope in Nathan's eyes as he looks towards you. Guiding others in matters of faith is the clergy's lot. You are no priest, yet you cannot stay quiet. You see his pain, you see his trepidation, so you will tell him what you think. What you are about to say may be a turning point in his life. I can't tell my little brother that God hates him. That's too much. That's too much. You tell your little brother that the twins are more than just law and will. They are also love. So writes Izatius, the disciple of the elder, and so says Mother. And both you and him were brought into this world through their providence. It's true that their love is quite unlike the love humans have for one another. They cannot forgive others unconditionally, like mother or father would. Your parents love you no matter what, but they are unlike them. And yet the twins bear no hatred, for they descended to our world and granted us knowledge of how to live, and this is a great treasure indeed. The twins put us all to the test with the hardships they send. They watch how we follow our lots, and if Nathan suffers and feels no love from them, then that means they believe in him, and they know he will endure his suffering. They know he will humbly accept it and let it pass through him, let it purify him. This is the manifestation of their love. Nathan hangs on your every word. The despair fades from his face. He is smiling. He puts the chain with the encircled cross back around his neck and hugs you gratefully. So they do love me. Thank you. You've helped me hold on to my faith. You hug Nathan back and hear him sniffle. He will remember this little talk for years to come. Yay. Alright. Another school day has ended. You're making your way home, still mulling over the things you learned from your teachers. The founding of the empire, the eternal and unshakable rule of a single dynasty. The 3 estates, each with its own rights. What an odd sort of order the world has, and yet so mysterious. At least, it sounds that way when your teachers talk about it. Mother is waiting for you on the porch. She smiles gently when she sees you, and her expression still shows great concern. Father left on a trip to several distant Magran towns a few days ago. Since then, Mother has been trying to tell you something, but she seems uncertain. Son, could you put away your things and come pray with me? You join your mother in a prayer for the twins. She prays with a fervent sincerity, her head bowed low, reciting the words of obedience to them and their greater designs in barely an audible whisper. You repeat after her, just as she has taught you ever since you were a little boy. When the prayer ends, Mother sighs and turns to you. Brunhilder, my son, you are 13 now. You'll be grown soon. It's time you learned about certain things that are important to our family. Difficult things. It's about your father and I, about our marriage. You gaze curiously into your mother's eyes. I'm sure you've wondered about this before. Your father was a nobleman of the mantle, so how could he marry a commoner with another man's child? But you see, Brunhilder, your father, when his first wife, Amelia Elborn, died, it was a painful blow to him. He lost the will to live. He lost all purpose. He felt like his own destiny was cut short that day as well. And then he met me. You know the troubles I had in the past. I went to the prefecture as a petitioner to ask them for help, protection, justice. When I was a young girl, I worked at a small shop that sold crockery and dishes. A nobleman took a liking to me. May his name never be forgotten. The twins know I was humble and honored by his lot to rule, but he took me by force. Mother falls silent, summoning the courage to continue. Gloria is that nobleman's daughter. But he was outraged. How could I have the gall to burden him with a low-born progeny? He turned me out in the street with that little baby girl in my arms. Well, his voice is shaking now. You take her hand tenderly. I had no home, no honor, nowhere to go, no one to help me. When I went to the prefecture, I didn't really think the judges there would help me find justice against my former master. But when Sir Robert heard my plea, his eyes met mine, and I believe that, at that very moment, the twins themselves granted him the gift of their love. Your father told me that there was nothing he could do to make that detestable woman marry me, but he would never abandon me and my baby girl Gloria, and if I agreed, he would take me into his own home. Tears are running down Mother's cheeks. And I knew it, my son. I knew how much his honor and reputation would suffer. But caring for me brought him back to life. It's like he experienced another sacrament. He rediscovered his noble purpose, his lot to rule and protect and care for others. But his decision to marry me, he's still paying for it today. Your father had the courage to defy your grandfather, the founder of his bloodline. If only you knew how much he had to endure, my son. If only you knew the despicable rumors were heard about the Brants all over Ainzot. It's only to the efforts of Sir Gregor that the Brant bloodline managed to hang on for what little remained of its reputation. And now the noble families have all but forgotten about that scandal, thank the twins. Mother falls silent. She looks at you intently. Do you understand what she's trying to tell you? My son, I'm not telling this to you just to share the pain of my past. I have no reason to complain. Even Sir Gregor has accepted me with gritted teeth. But you need to understand the heavy burden our family must bear, including our scandalous marriage and Gloria's foul origin. And Gloria, she could never be a Brant, even if the elder Brants agree. The news would stir up the old scandal in the minds of high society, and if that were to happen, my elder, they would even see your birth as illegitimate. Mother sighs heavily. What I told you just now is something you have to know, my son. By my lot, I cannot tell you how to treat your family. But I must ask you, now that you know all of this, do you still see Gloria as your sister? Of course I do. I don't want to piss them off. I'm pretty happy right now. Filled with determination, you assure your mother that Gloria is, and always will be, your sister. You want Gloria to be a Brant too. You want her to be part of your family. Who cares what the nobles of Ainzot say? Mother beams with quiet joy when she hears this. Oh, Brunhilde, if only you knew how happy that would make me, to have our family united at last. However, the joy in her face quickly gives way to concern. But I already owe good Sir Robert a debt I can never repay. He's given my daughter much, a home, an education, his care and advice. The Brant bloodline could suffer so much from Gloria's existence. We should all just learn to accept her status as it is. Just then, you hear Gloria's careful knock on the door of Mother's chambers. Mother, Brunhilde, I couldn't find you. You happily greet your sister. Yes, she is your sister. No old secrets can ever change that. Mother gives you and Gloria a kiss on the forehead and returns to her prayers. You and your sister walk downstairs together. Mother is alone by her bedside, thanking the twins for the quiet prayer for the Brant family they have given her. You hope they can hear her. You are 13 now. Another theology lesson. Today's sermon is about priests and why the clergy is the only one of the estates with the right to interpret the lots and guide the other two estates accordingly. Thomas sits next to you, huffing and puffing as he fervently writes down the teacher's every word. But you've heard this, all from Mother, so many times before, you take a moment to daydream a little. Father promised to take you to the capital once your studies are complete. But the teacher suddenly casts a stern look around the lecture hall and raises his voice at one of your classmates. A boy by the name of Brian jumps out of his seat. The teacher asks him to repeat what he just said. Brian freezes and seems to shrink. He seems to muster a reply, but nothing comes out. The class becomes agitated. Someone is about to get punished. The teacher now looms over Brian. The boy's cheeks are flushed and his eyes are covered in tears. You all watch the teacher's iron-bound book as he raises it sharply about to strike. Brian shrieks and raises a hand in front of him. A sudden flash. The teacher screams and buries his face in his arms. His hair is ablaze, his skin covered in horrible burns. It's magic. Real magic. Just like in books about the Magra Rebellion. The class freezes in shock. There's a dull thud as the iron-bound book falls to the floor. Brian's hysterical laughter rends the silence. He stands up from his bench, fire in his eyes and sparks in his fingertips. There are screams now. Students run from the door. The teacher tries to extinguish his burning hair. Brian snaps his finger, and the book of Azatis on the desk turns into pillars of flames. He laughs and raises his arms as the curtain catches fire. The screams grow louder as the fire howls. Brian's face is tense and violent. His mouth is spewing flames, and his whole body is shaking with laughter. He steps towards the door. You and Thomas glance at each other. He's going to burn the whole school down. Your friend's determination makes you brave. You run behind Brian and knock him off his feet. You both tumble to the floor. Even through his clothes, his body sears your flesh. Brian screams, convulses, grabs Thomas by the shoulders with burning hands. Thomas howls and stays put, then knocks Brian senseless with several fierce blows to the head. There are servants fussing around the room now. They put out the fire and take away the teacher. His body is covered in horrible burns. You and Thomas remain next to Brian, who is lying on the floor silent. Soon, 3 men in black cloaks enter the doors of the school, each bearing an edict sealed with silver, the Inquisition. You and Thomas are told to step away from the witch. They lock Brian's neck in a silver collar and take him away. One of the Inquisitor remains behind to tell the students what happened. That was magic, he explains. The ungodly power that twists the minds of men into savage instruments of murder. Only the sacred shackles of silver can hold it at bay. Only the power of the twins can save us from its evil grasp. The next day, you are forbidden from mentioning Brian's name again. He is no more. Ouch. It's a rough way to go. Shame. What allows you to die. The great day looms ahead. 100 years ago, Uther Tempest was anointed to rule over the Empire. Blessed by the twins themselves, the Emperor reigns continues into its 2nd century. Celebrations in honor of the Tempest dynasty are held throughout the city. The school is closed for 2 weeks because of that. On one of these evenings, Father tells everyone that Grandfather is going to bring Stefan back home for the holiday. They say families should celebrate the day of anointment together. You could benefit from your elder with his company. With his noble education, Stefan might be able to teach you how noblemen are supposed to act. Soon, Stefan arrives. He now handles himself differently. When it comes to ordering servants around and ignoring Gloria, he is still Grandfather's double, but he is more grown up now and far less haughty to you. It's a dark winter evening. A damp, cold wind sweeps the city from the barren lands of Magra. You and Stefan are sitting in the library. He is telling you all about Eterna, the capital of the Empire. It's so full of so many wonders. The Imperial Palace, the enormous Temple of the Twins, the Military Academy, the Imperial College. You've read so much about these places, yet he has seen them firsthand. Nathan enters the library. He looks concerned. I can't find Gloria. I looked everywhere. She's not in the attic, not in the sitting room, not in the kitchen. I heard she went to sneak off to the ruins of Char Melindia's palace. She could be lost there. You and Stefan exchange looks. Char Melindius, the rebellious duke. The ruins of his palace are a dangerous place. Some killed and claim his chains of magic still lingers there, which means you absolutely have to make your way there and back again to prove you're not afraid of the long-dead witch. Your brother tells you to wait. He leaves and soon returns with the sword in his sheath. Get ready, young Hilda. We're going to go rescue Gloria. She must have gone to the ruins in search of inspiration for one of her little rhymes. The two of you instruct Nathan to tell your parents you've gone for a walk in the square. You and your elder brother head outside. You're confused by Stefan's actions. He refuses to treat Gloria like a human being, so why is he still determined to rescue her? Are you wondering why I care about Gloria all of a sudden? I can't act in any other way, can I? Law of honor compels me to protect my family. Gloria will never be a Brandt, but father still took her into our house. I must respect his seniority and defend Gloria like she is one of our own. You are a Brandt too, noble or not, which means it's your duty to aid me. The ruins of Char Melindius' palace span an entire district. The palace was abandoned centuries ago, and its remnants are overgrown with thick underbrush. The ruined palace is empty, nothing but cold wind blowing over crumbling brickwork. Even the worst scum of the land steer clear of this place. You make your way through the ruins until you spot scattered sheets of paper covered in writing. Your sister's writing. You hear loud laughter coming from behind a dilapidated stone wall nearby. You pull yourself up and peer over it. Gloria is lying on the ground, face down, twitching and sobbing. A gaggle of drunk young thugs surround her, cackling and swinging their arms about. You hear the shout, "Look at the lass sitting here, her words rhyming words together. She's all noble, but don't you worry, you low-born tort. We're gonna teach you her place." One of the louts spits at Gloria as she lies there. "Get away from her this instant, you bastards, or I'll spill your guts." They respond with mocking laughter. Stefan draws his sword. The thugs recoil in fear, but they soon notice they're only one armed man against many. They start reaching up for sticks and stones. "Stand by my side. Don't let them flank me." Stefan's hand shakes, but he looks ready for battle. He's outnumbered. For a moment you hesitate. Perhaps it would be better to run for the nearby districts and call for the guards. The young thugs are already armed with makeshift weapons. They start approaching you, and Stefan cautiously. "I could call for the guards. I could charge the attackers. Or I could... Oh. Oh, this is... No. Let's get a little bit of willpower, or a little bit of nobility. I'll sacrifice a little bit of stats for this. Stefan's voice fills you with confidence. You follow your noble's brother's orders. Take someone to grab a stick, and you're Stefan's back, angrily swinging the louts to bring him down. One of the louts lunges at your brother with a stone, but you hit him with the stick. He falls down right at Stefan's feet. The sword flashes. The blade sinks deep into the young man's stomach. He wheezes. Blood starts pouring onto the ground. The thugs freeze. Stefan pulls the sword out, his face an inscrutable mask, and returns to his fighting stance. You are stunned to see Stefan take another man's life so easily and effortlessly, like picking his own teeth. The thugs look like they're about to flee. There is rage and confusion on their faces, and they never expected the young nobleman to use that sword. Stefan just scoffs at them. "Lowborn scum, that's all you are. This is the only language you'll understand. Good job, brother. Gloria, get up. We're going home." He turns to glance at your sister, giving the enraged thugs just enough time to rush you. You get separated from Stefan. Your back's against the wall now. They hit you hard in the stomach, then the face, then the side of the head. Your mind slips away. Turns to Percy, you find yourself lying in your bed. Stefan is in the armchair next to you reading a book. He's alive, with left arm in a sling and a black eye, but still alive. Your head is spinning and you feel nauseous. Try your best to sit up. Stefan looks up from the book. "Don't try to get up. You lost a lot of blood. I suppose that there was a few thugs too many for a single warrior, even with good backup. I'm impressed. We fought like an army. Noble orders, commoner obeys, all according to our lots. We defended the family's honor together. You know, brother, the nobleman's lot is also a great burden for those who are able to bear it. It takes courage, not to fight everything you see, but to do your duty. Each and every decision a nobleman makes becomes a part of his family's legacy, flowing in the blood tied forever. Think about it often. A noble mustn't act weak. A noble mustn't suffer like the people of the noble-born lot. A noble must rule over them wisely. A noble must ensure they have work to do. It's not merely your own lot you have to look after. You have to ensure that 1,000 others can live by their lot as well. There's so many more matters to take care of. Honor, dignity, tradition. It's tough. But it's what it takes to be a nobleman. Do you know what I'm talking about? There's approval in your brother's eyes for the first time in a long time. It was a pleasure to fight side by side. I got willpower loss, though. That sucks. I'm not a fan of willpower loss. I really don't like it. Before long, the entire city hears how a gang of lowborn thugs assaulted Stephen Bront. Grandfather ensures the brash young men are found. Some are taken to custody as soon as Letherdesk releases them. Grandfather seeks vengeance on those who hurt his favorite grandson. Prefect Elborn, a friend of your family, promises to personally oversee the trial and ensure that justice is served. Stefan and Grandfather decide to stay in Anzon until the trial ends. Grandfather demands true death for every single assailant. You ask Father to explain something. How can legal court sentence criminals to true death? How can worldly judgment overrule the twins' law? Your words are true, my son. Their law is second to none. Yet the twin gods also made the Empire in all its ways. The court of law exists to execute the laws of heaven here in the world. Should the court of law sentence a person to death, the law high above will always enforce it. So every execution brings true death. The commoners who assaulted Stefan, a born nobleman, have committed a grave offense. There is no doubt about that. And yet, according to the Emperor's decree, even commoners have a right to defend themselves when they're about to face true death. That means all of us will have to appear at the trial and testify before the court. Evening comes. Gloria enters your room. She looks crestfallen, and her fingers keep reaching for her long hair. You put away your school books and ask her what is bothering her. The trial's tomorrow. I thought I was going to appear there too as eyewitness. After all, this whole mess started with me. Sir Robert even going to mention I was there. Can you imagine? He says it would ruin the case. Why am I always in the way? Nobody ever mentions me. No one has to listen to me. It's like I don't even exist. And I thought Stefan standing up for me would finally mean something. Maybe I'll become part of the family. But no. Everything's back to usual now. Gloria tries her best to hold back the tears. You do your best to comfort her. Father just needs to keep the family out of trouble. If Sir Robert believes I will only bring trouble, why did he take me into the house at all? Gloria runs away. You return to your books, but you can't help but get lost in thought. What if they told the courts you weren't there either? How would you feel then? There's a knock at the door. His father, he closes the door behind him and sits next to you. There is an exhausted look about him. Son, you will be testifying before the court tomorrow. Please remember what I'm about to tell you. Gloria wasn't at the ruins at all. You went there with your brother to inspect this historic site. The lowborn men insulted Stefan and then attacked him. Stefan had managed to deal with the assailants on his own by the time the guards arrived. Gloria will cast suspicion on the case. If we mention her very existence to the court, the reputation of the family will suffer. Your grandfather will never forgive me if that happens. Do not let me down. We are all counting on you. You recall the night of the fight like it was a moment ago. Gloria sprawls under the feet of those cackling thugs. Her poetry, her greatest treasure, scattered on the ground. She thinks she's all noble. Those were the words they spat down at her. But doesn't grandfather mean the same thing when he denies she's part of the family? But if you do what father tells you, the trial will end quickly. The commoners will face true death for insulting a noble. If you mention Gloria, things will complicate and I predict the trial will end. What is more important to you? What is right? Or what is just? Oh, I would need a... Yeah, willpower. Listen. I don't really... Honestly, I want to do this. This is what I would like to do. But, I can't. Okay. Well, reputation. By losing them with Laura. Lose some unity in the family. Oh man, this is a tough one. Oh, what do I want to do? Which one do I want to support here? want to take that, but I'm gonna have to support my sister. I don't care. Also, a big part is I just don't think it's right to sentence these guys to death for not the truth. The day of the trial... Oh, I should go back. I gotta read this. Okay. You're not in agreement. You will follow the family's plan for the trial to the letter. A faint smile appears on Father's fatigued face. Thank you, son. This is an important case for our family and for me as well. I appreciate your support. You watch Father leave your room when you consider your options. When should you mention Gloria during the testimony? There's no way you'll pretend she was not there. It would not be fair in the slightest. The day comes. The trial takes place in the Lesser Hall of City Prefecture. Sir Elborn himself presides as the judge. You're seated next to Father and Stefan. You are to testify to the court one after another. Your brother's testimony follows Father's plan to the letter. The young commoners insulted you as you were both walking the ruins. They assaulted you, and Stefan defended you. You are next to speak. You told the court of the truth of what happened that night. How the thugs humiliated Gloria. Stefan came to help her, and now Stefan defended his half-sister. There are confused whispers in the hall. The commoners are on trial cry out. It's the truth. Gloria was studying poetry, and they simply told her she was defying her lot. The situation has changed. By this account, Stefan was not acting in defense or himself or another. He merely assaulted them first in order to retaliate against those who insulted his half-sister. Grandfather's face turns red, yet he remains silent. All emotion disappears from Father's face, and your brother looks at you disappointed. Sir Elborn rises to deliver the sentence. There's bitter regret in the voice as he speaks. With this new evidence in mind, the court of Enzot finds you not guilty of assaulting Stefan Elbrant, nobleman. However, you are found of guilty conduct and to 20 lashes each. The carriage is silent as your family drives home. Father asks to go to the sitting room. You need to talk alone. The tone of the voice does not bode well for you. You have no idea what you've done. Why do you have to be so foolish and stubborn? Why? Explain to me. Actually, that's not it. I didn't actually care about my sister being treated fairly. I just didn't want to sentence guys to death on a fucking farce. If they want to kill those men, we should have a valid reason to kill them. Not, we lied to the courts. Treated fairly, he says. His half-sister, he says. Get out of my sight this instant, both of you. You're in for a world of punishment, young man. You and your sister. You are nothing but a disappointment to me. Begone! Next, Father gives his orders. You and Gloria are flogged together, brutally enough to ensure you learn your lesson. Once this ordeal ends, your sister thanks you through tears. At least you tried to stand up for her. Your back will not hurt less for that, but at least you feel better now. When Gloria comes back home the day after, there's a fresh bruise in her cheek, and her desk is covered in dust, her hair is disheveled. When you ask her about it, she does her best to pretend nothing's wrong. When you ask about the bruise, that she just fell. Well, meet the four commoners and treat they thank you mockingly and tease you mercilessly. So, Ronghilda Broth, they called you, sarcastically. You walk away as fast as you can. They can laugh behind your back. Whatever happens now, Stefan will not protect you or Gloria anymore. Alright. Stefan leaves after the trial alone. Grandfather does not go with him. For the first time in a long while, he lingers in the house for more than a fortnight. Father says Sir Gregor Zalen needs rest. Several months go by, but it becomes clear that Grandfather will not recover. The eldest Bront is mostly bedridden now, and some days he has trouble recognizing people. When he means to address you or Nathan, he calls you Robert, or your father's name. When he does get out of bed, the house grows empty. Servants hide, Mother locks himself in her chambers, and you and Nathan run outside, or hide quietly in your room. If Grandfather sees anyone in the halls, he begins lamenting. Oh, nobody heeds the lots any longer. Any harlot with a child can marry a nobleman these days. Children have no respect. His son betrayed him and let him down. And oh, how the family has lost all its honor. Again and again, you hear grandfather knocking at Mother's door, screaming that it's all her fault. He blames her for ruining his chances to find bliss in the hereafter. He blames her for dooming him to suffer at the foot of the pillar. You overhear your parents talking one night. Mother begs Father to move Sir Gregor to his old home and spare the children his decline. Father refuses her outright. It's late at night. The hot, dry winds are coming. The house is empty, save for you, Nathan, Gloria, Mother, and Grandfather in his bed. Father has left the capital on business. You're engrossed in the history of the Empire, snapping out of your reverie only when the clock strikes midnight. You blow out the candle and get ready for bed. You hear the shuffling of heavy feet outside your door. You see light in the hallway. Grandfather, what could he want in the middle of the night? You peek into the hallway once he's passed. Grandfather's figure sways as he heads for the door to Mother's chambers. He opens the door and walks in. You hear him saying something quietly. Your unease is stronger than your fear now. You sneak closer to hear his words. You foul commoner. I have to cleanse my sins. I have to save my soul. You are my greatest sin. You and what you have done to Robert and this family. I should have put a stop to this marriage. I should have stopped Robert from tainting this house by your presence. Why didn't I do it? Please, Sir Bronte, I beg of you. Silence. You will do my bidding. Fire will cleanse all lowborn filth from this place. Fire and flame will free Robert from this disgrace. This is for my son's sake. For my son's sake. For my sake. I need to eradicate the lowborn filth. The twins. They are calling me now. I can feel it. I can feel it. I beg of you, please, have mercy. Mother begins to cry. You run to the room, unable to stay out of this any longer. Grandfather's gaunt figure looms over Mother's bed, a lit oil lamp in his hand. Mother is sprawled out in the bed, crying. Please, just let me warn the children, I beg of you, Sir Bronte. Your steps are loud enough to be heard. Grandfather turns to look at you. Stay out of this, Runghilder. Be useful for once. Worldly matters concern me no longer. I only see my sins now, and a sinner I am. A sinner. The twins, they forgive no one. They will judge me by the pillar. I must do something. I don't want to suffer for all eternity. Go away. Mother is crying. Grandfather is looming over the bed, driven to madness. His hand shakes as it clutches the oil lamp. His eyes shine in the dark. He truly believes this has to be done. You are suddenly torn. What if he's right? What if this is the only way for his soul to find salvation? Oh my fucking god. Oh my god. I mean, to be fair, this is a world where deaths don't really matter. Straight up. Right? I could stop him if I had... If I had willpower, I could gain mobility, ingenuity, spirituality. He gets true death. Or this one. He gets true death, but he respects me a little more. Oh, he doesn't like me as much, but he already loves me. It's fine. But I get a fat stack of stacks for a death. So I'll take it. You drop your hands in the grief, and Grandfather's eyes pierces your heart. He's staring true death in the face. Those who grow old do not return from the hereafter. What fate awaits him there? The nobleman's lot is to rule, but his helpless inability to fulfill his lot within his own family, no less, is causing him so much suffering. You look Grandfather's face, lit by the lamp, distorted by an unyielding wrath. His force of will astounds you. Even if he's using his will to choose his own demise. To submit to this will is your destiny. It's the duty of every single person in this room. You can't deny him. Agony. The lamp smashes against the floors, the curtains, the walls. It takes a moment for the flames to engulf the entire room. Your grandfather's hands go up as he intones a loud prayer to the winds. You have known these words all your life, but they have never sounded more so solemn. His eyes look away, high above. His face, a still mask, reflected in the flickering flames. He smiles. You take Mother's hands. He is crying, shaking violently, yet she knows that she will not run away. She knows it too. It is her duty to stay. There is only one thing you can do for her, and recite a prayer as loud as you can, again and again, until the acrid smoke finally fills your lungs and takes your breath away. Gloria and Nathan are fast asleep, so they perish before the fire seizes them. This is your final thought before a lesser death claims you. You fall into a pain that embraces you like a soft feather bed. You feel light, free. There are no restraints, just a warm glow that envelops you in its secure embrace. The waves carry you. Their touch is soft. They delicately enshroud what was once your body. It's a feeling unlike anything you have experienced before. Something absolute and complete. You touch something greater, the reason behind everything, the reason for your very existence. You were sculpted from this light. It was the first thing you ever felt. A boundless and sincere unity of the diverse. Your beginning was a spark that cast this light in all directions, and now you're here again, one with the beginning of everything. The light gleaming from you resembles the light of the shining pillar. You will see it in the north, as always. The waves of light carry you to two figures. The elder is nearest. He is ready to accept you. He is quiet, wise, kind, and pure. The younger waits further back. You do not know what he is yet. The waves pause at the elder's feet. He leans over you and plants a feather-light kiss on your forehead. The kiss spreads all over you. You are filled with unparalleled delight and bliss. You exist. You are unique. There is no one else like you. They know this, and they love you. You will never be alone. You are a part of them, a part of your family, a part of the universe. The twin gods will never leave you. They watch over you constantly. The elder softly touches you as you lie spread out amongst the waves, sending you further down the torrent of light. You float on to the top of the silver tree's spreading crown. The closer to the tree, the heavier you become. The waves draw you down along its trunk, but you do not wish to part with the warmth and softness, with the love. You turn around. The elder is still watching you. He nods, as it all should be. Go. Your time has not come yet. You must return to the world now. As you tumble down your body, you comprehend the true meaning of your lesser death and the divine love that has been revealed to you. Love exists not only in the hereafter. It is present in the entire design of the twins that is the origin of all life in this world. What is the manifestation of this love in your mortal life? Family? No. The lot? No. The Empire? No. The love of the gods for you is so great, they allow you to change the world you have created, to influence it with your deeds. Whatever your mission is, it is proof of the twins' gods' love for you. A sudden comprehension of the love for which this entire world is imbued illuminates your mind, but then it fades away and vanishes. You regain the sensation of your flesh. It is heavy and unwieldy. It lacks that lightness, that light, that it is a burden. It's smothering you. You gasp for air, your chest expands painfully. You feel as if your lungs are about to burst. The stagnant odor of the crypt fills them, revolting, but so real. You are back. The first thing you see in the gloom of the family crypt is your mother's sorrowful eyes. This is your fault, but what could you have done? Without a sound, you mouth to her the very words she taught you. We must accept all suffering. This is the commoner's lot. And even at these very moments, you live your lot as you lay on the cold rock of the crypt. Do not turn away from your mother's weary face. This is my last life. In the depths of the crypt, you find Nathan and Gloria reborn for the first time. They are shaking and crying silently. They have experienced their first death. Mother takes the children by the hand. You leave the crypt without a word and walk to what is left of the Brandt estate. You belong to the common lot, so you must endure the lash of fate as it strikes again and again. The servants come in time to put out the fire, but the second floor has already been reduced to ash. It will be a while before the floor is restored. Thomas's family gives you refuge for the night. No matter what happened, life goes on. The family estate was damaged by the fire, yet the family continues to live there. Grandfather's charred body is taken to the family crypt. Gregor Brandt has died his true death. You go there to look at him. His face is covered by cloth, hiding in his expression. Did Gregor Brandt finally find solace the pillar amongst the flames in his final living moments? Or did he die as he lived, an embittered soul, driven mad because he could never truly live by his lot? That is dead. Oh, down to moderate means. That's still fine. I am blessed with a god now, and I've got a little bit more stats across the board. That's useful. Alright, so the grandfather's demise happened in the year 1132. Your grandfather, Sir Gregor Brandt, left this world forever to meet the twin gods. The night of your grandfather's death shook your family to the core. No matter how it happened, your grandfather, Gregor Brandt, is dead and will never return. He was a fearful shadow looming over the rest of the family, the Brandt patriarch, exerting his influence on all the lives below him, and all of you will remember him forever. Father is the new patriarch of the family now, yet he still cannot bring himself to sit at the head of the table while Sir Gregor used to preside. Stefan locks himself away in grandfather's bedroom every day. He will not talk to anyone. Gloria and Nathan still jump at every sound that so much as resembles the knocking of his walking stick. Mother spends all day in prayer at the temple. And yet, the house has become calm and quiet with his passing. But there is one more thing that must be done. The final farewell. It weighs heavily upon your soul. The day comes to pay your final respects. Father goes to the tomb, alone, save for Stefan, Nathan, and you. Mother and Gloria stay at home. Only nobles, or those who may become nobles, may join this ritual. There is a solemn silence as you walk to the crypt. Father is the one who breaks the silence when you finally reach the door of the family crypt. Your grandfather built this crypt. Now he'll be the first Brandt to remain here in body forever. The first ever noble in our family. It is our duty to hold the sacrament of the flowing blood for Sir Gregor. We will honor his legacy and join him as the founder of the noble Brandt dynasty. Stefan perks up at his father's words. His hands still clutch grandfather's sword. Tradition decrees that it must remain in the niche above its owner's sarcophagus. Nathan, on the other hand, looks even more frightened now. Stairs of carved white stone lead you downward. Deep in the gloom of the crypt, atop a pedestal, you see the sarcophagus that holds grandfather's body. Father takes a moment to compose himself before paying his final respects. Gregor Brandt, my father, brought our family into nobility through his unshakable will. He was a judge and a noble servant of the Empire. He lived his life as if he had been born a noble, and never strayed from the path he had chosen. He sought to make Brandt family ennobled by the sword so that our children's children might be of noble birth. The twins know I abided my father's words all my life, even if I could not obey him every time. Father, that's a bitter chuckle as he says this. Stefan glares at Father, then turns to glare at Nathan and you. After all, the two of you were born at Father's shameful decision to bury a commoner. All of you remember this disastrous passing. He did not die the true death he deserved, yet we all must know that he fought for the future he believed in, and would be proud to see his family bid him farewell with the sacrament of the nobility. Stefan still glares at Father sullenly. His fingers remain clutched around Grandfather's sword. Nathan barely pays attention to the words. He looks around with unease, arms folded across his chest. Father reaches into his jacket and pulls out a slender dagger, thin and sharp. He takes off his gloves. Watch me carefully, my sons. Make a small cut on the palm of your hand and let your blood flow into this duct on the wall of the crypt. It will join your grandfather's blood here and flow forever. Then, the ancestor and progeny will become as one. We shall enter our family's blood tide and receive grandfather's final blessing, for his blood flows first in our blood tide. He will respond to you. You are part of him, and he is part of you. With a quick motion, Father slices his hand and holds the bleeding cut above a small opening in the wall. Then he hands the dagger to Stefan. Stefan cuts his hand without hesitation and does as Father did. You receive the dagger next. The dagger's handle feels warm. You hesitate a moment as you look at the palm of your hand. If you participate in this ritual, you will enter the Brandt blood tide. You, a low-born child, a child who is still a commoner. Are you ready to claim your legacy as a descendant of the nobleman's Jacob Bronte? The eyes of your father and brothers are upon you. Nathan, youngest brother, will follow your example. You are certain of this. If I give the dagger back, I get back some willpower. Yeah, sure. We'll bleed. We'll bleed. I already did it with once. You remember that fateful day when you were 8. The day you tried to choose a different lot for yourself. You violated the ritual in the temple. You kissed the sword. And against all odds, you said you had the right to be the nobleman. And now you must confirm this right. You must join the Brandt blood tide. You grasp the dagger firmly, then hold the blade to your skin and quickly drag it across your palm. Drops of your blood fall into the duct, flowing further to the crypt where they combine with the blood of your father and brother. The fresh wound burns on your hand. What are you doing, Runghilder? Why do you have to take those two along, Father? The ritual's for nobles, and you two aren't even noblemen. His eyes meet Father's stern gaze. No one is to interrupt the sacrament. Indignant as he is, Stefan falls silent. You hand the dagger to Nathan. Younger brother hesitates. Father offers him help, but Nathan shakes his hand. Finally, he makes a cut, and Nathan's blood joins yours in the duct of the crypt. The deed is done. It is time to close the sarcophagus. The lid falls into place with a heavy, resonant thud. Then, you all freeze as each of you hears your late grandfather speak to you. His voice is loud as it rings in the depths of the crypts, and yet he speaks to each of you separately. So you think yourself my descendant, son of a low-born woman? Very well. Time will tell how much nobility you have within, but know this. I am your ancestor. You are my flesh and blood. I will be watching you always, and my shadow will follow you forever. Do not let me down, boy. Grandfather's voice falls silent. You glance at your father and brothers admonished. Save for Stefan, everyone else is dumbfounded as well. Rituals complete, Stefan reverently kisses the grip of grandfather's sword and places it above the alcove in the sarcophagus. Once all is done, you leave the crypt together. Cool, fresh wind blows in your face as you return to the surface. Stefan storms off to the carriage fuming. Father stops halfway to the carriage and hugs Nathan and you briefly. Now your blood belongs to the dynasty of Sir Gregor Brunt as well. There we go. There we go. Grandfather's passing and late respects have left a mark on the entire family. His words, relayed from hereafter, keep echoing in your mind. You still do your best to avoid the memory of grandfather's last night and spend more time in the city seats with Thomas and your other classmates. The road by the house reminds you of another clash with death. Sometimes, as you walk along the road, you recall Sophia, the beautiful girl with wonderful eyes and the terrifying, thundering hooves. You've not seen Sophia since the fateful day. The children who live nearby say your parents sent her to a rich Arknian family, the Ottons, as a servant. The sun is set. The pillar shines palely in the dark sky. Thomas is ill, so you visit him and tell him the latest news. The streets seem oddly agitated tonight, full of horses, cloaked men, strange faces, and hushed voices. A young nobleman in a black, heavy embroidered cloak is walking back and forth, clutching at his sword nervously. There is a grimace of rage on his delicate blue face. He's an Arknian. You overhear voices. Sir Otton, the girl's not at home. We searched the house. The parents swear she ran away from home too. They claim they wanted to bring her back. Just do whatever it takes. Turn this loathsome district upside down if you must, but bring my servant back to me. She's here. Sophia ran away from an Arknian? How can this be? There is only one place on the entire street where a person could hide. The abandoned Moral House. 4 houses away from yours. You head there, doing your best not to attract attention. The lopsided house, built of yellow brick, has been abandoned for 20 years or so. You remember playing there as a boy. You glimpse a figure inside even before you enter. A pair of eyes glimmer in the dark. You would recognize them even after 4 years. Sophia has grown up. She's almost an adult now, and her face is full of fear. She's not the easygoing girl next door that you remember. She finally recognizes you. Oh, it's you, Romilder. Be quiet, they're all looking for me. I ran away from the youngest Otton. I might be in for a lesser death here, but I'd rather die than spend another day in their slavery. I'm just a thing to him, just a toy to play with. Sophia winces and closes her mouth, and she says this. There's a glint of bright yellow deep in her eyes. I ran to my parents and told them all about the man I had to serve, and they went and alerted the Ottons. They don't want to be the target of their ire, but you aren't going to tip them off, are you not? The barking and shouting are getting closer. Sophia's voice grows quiet. She runs off the darkest corner of the house before you could answer. One of Otton's servants is close. So close you can hear his cloak swishing on the ground. He notices something and calls for the others. There are more voices around you now. They approach from the house from the yard and surround it. One of them seems particularly snappy, annoyed, and impatient. You have heard this voice today. If you're in there, girl, you'd be wise to come out and quit wasting my time. All will be forgiven, and you will go back to where you were. You know it. And if you don't, I'll drag you out by your hair. Oh, boy. The hilt of the young Arknian sword bashes the door. He's about to lose his patience for good. Hugs the wall in the dark, trying to stay still. She glances at you. What will you do? Your heart is racing. Can you act against the Arknian's honors? Do you have the gall to defy the mighty nobleman? Okay. If I had willpower and 4 ingenuity, I could help her get out. I could bring her back. she'd hate me forever. Instead, I'm going to try to get back some willpower and hide, like a big coward. Because I don't want to bring her back. That's too much for me. I knew it. You not respond. You need to hide. The front door slams open. Heavy footsteps echo from the entrance. The irate Arknian strides right past you to your hiding place, giving you no heed whatsoever. Where are you hiding, you little tramp? There's no hiding from me. A shadowy figure streaks past you. A high-pitched, furious scream slices through the silence. A blinding golden flash explodes in front of you. A sudden cascade of sparks burning through the darkness. As you blink, stunned, Autumn's tall figure freezes and suddenly collapses. The golden sparks are still dancing before your eyes. A sudden pain seems to rupture your skull from the inside. Through the light and the pain, you barely catch a glimpse of Sophia. She dashes past the prone Arknian and runs out the door. Takes Autumn a few long moments to regain his senses. He gets up with a curse and runs after Sophia. So she's a witch too, eh? Get her, now! You hear men running, shouting, and barking orders on the other side of the wall. You lie there, on an old pile of bricks, rubbing your eyes. The strange stumper slowly leaves you, stupor. You get to your feet and walk unsteadily to one of the abandoned houses. The danger is past. You walk back home, lost in thought. So Sophia's a witch? You recall how her magic bound Autumn by the arms and legs, so he lost all control of his body. The runaway servant girl becomes a talk of the district for the entire week. You hear that Sophia has managed to flee the city. The Aughtons are furious. Sophia vanished from your life just as suddenly as it came. You will not see her for quite some time. Yeah, embittered. Well, I got some willpower back at least. I'm not in the negatives anymore, which is good. Wow, being in the negatives really hurt a couple times. There are some things I'd love to have done, but I was out of juice. About turn 15, just one step away from adulthood. Mother is anxious at dinner today, barely touching her food. You exchange glances with Gloria. She carefully tells you she wants to go to the tailor. Mother shudders, hands clenched to fists. No, don't you dare leave the home today. I forbid it. That dirty heretic Fotis is preaching his lies under the silver tree. Twins willing, I don't want you to hear any of that today. You and Gloria glance at each other again. Fotis is a patriarch, the head of the clergy throughout the entire province. That's the first time you've heard Mother speak like this about a priest, especially such a high-ranking one. Once you leave the dinner table, Gloria comes to your room with a cunning expression on her face, like she's about to play a trick on someone. She has a plan. The two of you should sneak out of the house and go to the silver tree. You simply must hear the sermon for yourself. What's so bad about Patriarch Fotis? Why does Mother hate him so much? You two are grown-ups now. Surely you have the right to know. You agree with your sister. Together, you sneak out from your mother's watchful eye and hurry to the silver tree. The temple block is full of people from all ranks and estate. There's barely enough room to sneak through the crowd. The crowd has gathered around the very roots of the tree. Gloria suggests that you climb up to the roof of a nearby building so you can hear and see everything better. And not a moment too soon. From the roof, you see a tall, silver-haired priest step onto the platform by the tree, dressed in the common black robe that looks far beneath his rank. Yet he stands like a noble before the crowd. Behind his back is a banner flapping in the wind, an open book. This is the symbol of the new faith, the crowd whispers. The patriarch holds his hands up to the sky. The entire temple block goes quiet. He begins his sermon, his vibrant voice rolling across the square. Fotis speaks of a great mistake. We entrusted ourselves the lost. We entrusted ourselves to the lots as the only way to fulfill divine providence in this world. But for all these years, the will of the twins has been interpreted for us by a single man, Prophet Isaiatus. The twins are ever watching from atop the shining pillar. Of this we have no doubt, but how can we so blindly believe that we truly follow their will by following the lots? Have we not seen the 3 lots of Isaiatus fail again and again to answer the question of how we ought to live our lives? Have we not seen people change their lot in life again and again without being smitten by divine wrath? Every person born, whether human or Archnean, lowborn or noble, must find their lots and their way to God on their own. From now on, we will seek the gods in the accounts of their own lives, in their own acts in this world, and in their own words as they echo within us. And, as we heed the voice of the twins within, we will each find their path for us on their own. The crowd at the Silver Tree listens to Patriarch's speech in stunned silence. You glance at your sister. Her eyes glisten with tears as she hears Photis' words. Then suddenly a hoarse cry rises from the crowds. If there are no lots, does that mean the nobles are going to till the fields and the commoners are going to bear arms? The crowd begins to murmur. The Patriarch raises an arm and inhales, ready to answer. An odd figure leaps from the cloud onto the platform. A beggar, dressed in rags, a knife flashes in his hands. The blade slices. Blood starts spurting from Photis' throat. He slumps over and collapses. A dark brown puddle spreads across the platform where he stood. Gloria clutches her mouth to suppress a shriek. A few moments of stunned silence. Then the screams begin. The people are frantic. The temple guards try to restore order in the crowd, but to no avail. An old woman dressed in an inquisitor's cassock tries in vain to apply pressure to the Patriarch's wound. The nobles draw their swords. Dogs are barking. The crowd is pushing and shoving. Children are crying. The entire square by the tree is in chaos. From the roof, you see the moment when people start trampling over each other, howling, praying, shouting. Gloria tugs on your sleeve. Time to go. You climb down from the roof and run. You return home without exchanging a word. Mother's been in a room all the while, so no one noticed your absence. Gloria locks herself in a room. You do not discuss the things you have seen, they're too frightening. But your parents discuss every little deal of the blood-stained sermon over dinner. This is unbelievable. The Patriarch murdered in plain sight. The gendarmes and Archduke guards have searched every corner of the slums, and the murderous beggar disappeared without a trace. I can't even imagine a more gruesome crime. Photis has died a true death, never to return from the hereafter. But how? Why can't the Patriarch be reborn? He's so close to the twins. Such is the way of the world, my children. Once you are granted great power by the twins' will, there's no hope to come back, not even after the first of your deaths. Emperors, their powerful vassals, heads of the Archnean dynasties, patriarchs of the church, none of them are destined to be reborn. Photis is gone forever. I fear for his soul. It was lost in doubt. Will the twins accept him upon the peak of the pillar? We must pray for the Patriarch, children. Let's hope he managed to return to the old faith before the moment of his passing. But there was little hope for that. Ooh. Well. Tomorrow you turn 16. According to Imperial law, you will be a full adult. Your time at Sir Tibor's school has ended. You have studied enough to apply for the Imperial College and learn the judge's trade. You are travel to Enna tomorrow. Your friend Thomas will go there with you to try to find his luck in the Imperial capital. Mother and father prepare you for the long journey. Remember, son, there is only one goal for you. You must become a student at the Imperial College. Your teachers dragged you through all those books for a reason. You have the knowledge and favor to be entombed in the mantle as I was, and my late father was before me. And who knows, maybe one day you will be the one to write the name Bront in the Blue Book and ensure that your children's children will be noble by birth. Then Mother speaks to you carefully. There is worry in her eyes. But Robert, there may be another path for us, son. Stefan, your firstborn, was born a noble. He will surely earn the title for the entire Brent family. Your second son bears the favor of the twins. For him, the path of a priest is a worthy calling, no less than the nobleman's sword. They have been arguing about your future for a while. Still, she would never defy the will of a nobleman and her husband. You smile at them both, trying to placate them. Gloria laughs quietly behind their backs. You don't just become a snoot like Stefan, and you'll do just fine. Mother chides Gloria for that. You wink at your sister. Nathan has been downcast all evening. He barely touches his dinner. When everyone gets from the table, he suddenly rushes over to embrace you. Please don't go, Hilda. Can't you stay? I don't know what I'm going to do without you. You tussle his hair in response. There is no way you can stay now. But when you come home, and you will come home, you'll tell him all your stories and bring him a special present from Eterna. This is it. All your lessons have been learned. All your things have been packed for the road. You will leave the family home tomorrow. Tonight is your last night at home before your departure. You walk through the rooms one last time. The sitting room where Mother used to read your few fairy tales. The library where Gloria used to spend all her time. Father's study, which you entered only on special occasions. The backyard where you taught Nathan to build towers one summer. The whole place seems so familiar. So dear to you, it feels like home. You lived here for 16 years. Will you ever return? It's getting late. Everyone's already in their rooms, but you hesitate. Father, Mother, Gloria, Nathan, it'll be a long time before you see them again. Will you spend your last few hours at home with? Gotta get my spirituality up to max. You open the door to Mother's room. She is kneeling in prayer. Her back is to the door and her whispers fill the room. She turns around and smiles gently when she hears your footsteps. You want to spend the night with her before you leave. Mother reaches out to you. Come with me, Hunhilder. There's no need for anybody else to hear us. You walk silently downstairs, entering the empty sitting room, lighting candles. You are so close to the gods, my son. I knew it as soon as you were born. I saw them watching over you closely. Let us pray together, my son. May the twins know your honor their every touch. You stand by Mother's side as she whispers prayer after prayer. First, she offers gratitude for the life and lot you've been granted. Then a plea to show you a path through the world, for it has no mercy. Next, a promise to heed and obey their every call. There is such fervor in her prayer, such piety. You know for certain as you pray with her that gods will provide with you. They will ensure your path is true, for there is no other way. The sun is about to rise. You should rest, but you are not tired. On the contrary, you feel lucid and clear-headed. Mother embraces you once the prayers are done. My son, life is hard, but it is just more so for those who follow their lot. Remember, be humble in your words and work hard. Before you go, Mother removes a pendant with the twins' cross and puts it around your neck. You return to your room and get into bed. You can see the shining pillar from the window glowing gently across the twilight morning sky. All your worries of the long journey are no more. You feel calm and serene. Didn't quite max it out, but that's okay. 9's pretty good, I think. The year is 1133. You leave the family home for a long time. Your future awaits you in Eterna, the capital of the Empire. Last night was your final night at home. The carriage is now waiting at the gate, ready to take you to the capital. The clip-clopping of the idle hooves against the cobblestones count the seconds before your departure. You take one more look at your parents' house and recall your childhood spent there, in the nearby yards, at your school, and on the winding streets of Einzot. You clashed with the greater world around you and survived. You feel the tingle of emotion for the first time. You were taught by the school and the streets. You explored the city of your birth and learned something of its past. You witnessed firsthand events that will be remembered by history for all time. All of this is yours now, forever. You saw death, lesser death, followed by rebirth, and the true death that never gives back. You saw death lying to wait, to strike unaware, like a beast stalking its prey. You saw grandfathers, angry grimace, lit by the flickering fire of the lamp, the Archduke's cavalry trampling those who stood in their way, and your older brother's bloodied sword slicing through the air. Death has followed you from a very young age. And yet you live on. You have a friend who has been by your side all these years. Tom has taught you many things. How to take a hit, how to keep your word, how to remain true to yourself. And now, Thomas is walking to the same carriage as you, with a heavy bag slung over his shoulder. Your friend will remain your companion for the time being. Ahead of you is a long trip towards the capital and adulthood. For the first time, you'll be away from your family and home. What awaits you in the future? All right. So, well, convert into adult qualities, I hope. I'll actually keep some of these numbers because last time I didn't get to keep them. 1 death, and I'm at 0 willpower, and I'm ready to continue. But I'm going to